This module introduces you to the phenomenon of frailty. It's a phenomenon that will be of huge concern this century in terms of how we're going to distribute the healthcare and social service resources in taking care of our elderly. The crux of frailty is impairment in multiple dimensions of an elder's life, and those impairments lead to profound difficulties in them carrying out daily life activities. It also involves suffering from limited reserves. As you learned in your concepts and theories of aging units, as the body ages, the biochemical processes don't function as effectively. We don't repair our cells as effectively. Our immune system doesn't fight off foreign invaders as effectively. And all of those things lead to the breakdown of the body and the acquiring of many chronic illnesses. The journey into frailty often begins for clients in their mid to late 70s. Nearly 2/3 of the women and almost half of the men over the age of 85 need extensive assistance with ADL and IADL, and those are activities of daily living. Activities of daily living include common things like toileting, bathing, grooming, feeding yourself, and those sorts of things. And instrumental activities of daily livings are such things as using the phone, being able to get out and shop for the things that you need to have a high quality life. Many elders today want to remain in their home, and it's difficult for frailer elders to do that without some assistance. Hence, many of them wind up living in and continuing care communities and long-term care facilities. Continuing care communities are retirement communities where typically elders move there when they're in fairly decent health. They have everything from independent living to areas where if you need some minimal assistance, you can relocate to areas where people can no longer take care of themselves or manage at all. Even with minimal assistance, they need 24-hour nursing care. So there are areas for that. Currently, there are 6.5 million elders over the age of 65 that are affected by frailty. But by 2020, frailty will affect more than 10 million. And you all are familiar, based on learning activities and assignments in your earlier models, that this baby boom generation is about to transform into the largest elderly population in human history. And that's coming this century, beginning in a couple of years, as a matter of fact. They're going to change the way we live. They're going to change the way we think about prioritizing healthcare, change perhaps the way we have to look at distributing our health resources, and they are going to have us have to make really difficult choices. So on top of the frail elders that we have already, we're going to be adding a whole bunch more of them, and it has huge implications for families and the culture in general, in not just our nation but every nation. One of the reasons this huge wave that is coming will be very different in that their expectations will be different. Before, we had very few people who lived to be 100 years old, and I don't know if many of you are aware of that, but on the news programs they would announce the people who were 100 years old. In fact, one of the network stations still does it today, and they get a letter from the president and that sort of thing. They were rare individuals. They are no longer rare anymore. Life expectancy has increased dramatically, and there are large numbers of citizens who are 100 years old, and a small number of global citizens called supercentenarians who are 110 years of old or older. This new era of improved quality in the lives of our citizens has mainly happened this last part, pretty much the last decade or so of the 20th century. Greatly improved technology and medicine innovations have led to the fact that many diseases that were considered death sentences long ago, like diabetes and cancer, are now being treated as chronic illnesses. People are living with cancer, and it's being approached and treated as if it were hypertension or some other chronic cardiovascular disease. Hence, people are living longer. The growth of the life extension groups and anti-aging medicine groups basically is to continue that technologic progression to increase life and to compress morbidity, which means that people will live to be healthier as they are older and older and older, and only get very, very sick and frail and die within a short period of time. Ideally, people are looking to compress that into a year or less. Most of the people who make it to age 80 or 90 suffer from some degree of frailty. That's variable, and that is a big challenge for families. Most people and their families have little experience coping with chronic illnesses. Middle adult families, are concentrating very hard on raising their children, getting them through school, and now as their children approach high school and college age, these adults are finding, because people are living longer, that they also have to not only take care of pediatric concerns on their children's end, but geriatric concerns on their parents' and elder relatives' ends. And they have to become caretakers for both groups of family members. Not only do they have to be familiar with childhood diseases and getting vaccinations and maintaining well child care, they also have to be familiar with chronic illnesses and diseases relating to their aging parents and the prophylactic vaccines and care that they need as well. In looking at the phenomenon of frailty and looking at quality of life, one of the things that they're finding is that quality of life is not necessarily tied to medical condition. You have frail elders who may be the same age, and one frail elder may have multiple chronic illnesses and multiple problems with managing basic activities of daily living, but still have a very positive outlook on life, a very high quality life, still make connections with families and friends, and still engage in activities and being in the world. And you have other elder citizens who may not have as many medical conditions that are problematic, but who are lonely, who are sad, who don't have contact with family and friends, who don't engage life. And as you've read in your textbook in Valent, when he talks about adult growth and development and what the characteristics of aging well are, you can see how those adults who have developmental characteristics that help them age well, perhaps are going to have a better quality of life when they are frail. Being frail, being unable to manage your life, being unable to live independently often triggers significant psychosocial issues for frail elders. There are increasing cases of depression among geriatric clients, and the more difficulty that they have in maintaining their independence, the more likely they are to be depressed. In addition to depression, some other problems that have cropped up are alcoholism. That's becoming an increasing problem among elders. Elder abuse is becoming an increasing problem, as you have adult caregivers who are responsible for caring for elder parents who get really frustrated and angry at the stress and the pressure of being between two groups of responsibilities. And the other issue for frail elders is the issue of suicide, and that brings up issues of, assisted suicide and rational, intentional taking of life, and ethically how the culture is going to handle that. I think that issue is going to be more prevalent as you have significantly increasing numbers of frail elders who are suffering and just aren't willing to carry on. Another phenomenon that is coming on the horizon of interest relative to frailty is that of double jeopardy families. And McGrew, Kroger, and Kunkel are researchers who did some of their work at the Scripps Gerontology Center here at Miami University in looking at double jeopardy families. And in the past, we had elder adults who had children with significant developmental and mental challenges who were never going to be able to live independently and would always be living with their parents. In the past, those parents, because our life cycle was shorter, when they passed away, the children became the responsibility of either other relatives or the state, but you only had those adult children to be responsible for because their parents had died. That's no longer the case. You now have elders, many of them frail, with mental and developmental delays in their adult children that they have to care for. And as they are no longer able to care for themselves, they are also no longer able to care for these children. And so you have both family members needing support. And again, where are we going to get the resources to care for such families? Do we even have anything in place to even begin to address that problem? And again, few resources in health and social support, and lots of us wanting them. Frail elders and geriatric clients use the most significant portion of them. A question that we have to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do when these parents are no longer able to care for their children or care for themselves? Again, an interesting phenomenon.